On Real Estate for Real Life podcasts, we sit down with standout business leaders to unpack what's actually working.
How they scale, lead teams, win clients, and build businesses that last. We're your hosts. I'm Courtney Gauchman.
And I'm Ryan Wilson. Thanks for tuning in. On today's episode, we are going to be discussing building a brand that people believe in.
We're here with Alyssa Pannozzi, Head of Experience at Rev'd Fitness in Foxboro, and a full-time content creator.
That's right.
Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here with both of you today.
We're excited to learn from you. Obviously, at this point in life, most businesses need to have content, need to be constantly creating things, and have a brand presence. But the bigger piece is you need to actually build a brand that people believe in.
That's very true.
We would love to pick your brain and learn more about how you've gotten into this.
Drop all
Excited
the
to
knowledge.
chat. Yeah, I got you. Let's do it.
So kind of rewinding it a little bit, let's talk about how you started, right? So you started in sports management.
Yep.
Tell us like the evolution of your career and how you have now become famous.
Oh boy. Famous is a strong word. I will say maybe D, C, F list celebrity
I'll
over
take it.
here.
I'll
take it.
I'll give you a B.
We're going to work our way up to A at some point. So very long story short, I've been a fitness trainer / worked in the management side of a big fitness brand for the last 10 years. And when I got into content creation, more so just starting my own personal brand was about 10 years ago when I learned that in order to connect with athletes further in my classes, for lack of a better way of saying it, you just have such an opportunity on social media to connect further with people outside of just being in person. So I started on Instagram, was kind of the number one platform that I started to use. And then, like many other people during COVID, I was bored at home, lots of time on my hands, and I started TikTok. And I remember my first TikTok, I was in my garage in my old house, and it was, looking back, I should go back and find it because it's honestly kind of embarrassing, but very low budget, had no idea what I was doing, just put something out, thought I was so cool with all the graphics, like, ooh, here's me on this, on a spin bike in my garage with my husband, like flipping things back and forth. And what got me really to continue on with social media was during COVID, like I said, I started a TikTok and people wanted a fitness challenge. So someone said to me, hey, you're a fitness trainer. Can you do something that we can do at home? Because we're all at home. We're bored. We have nothing else to do. We're depressed. We're sad. We're anxious. Can you help us? So I said, sure. Came up with a 30-day fitness challenge where, I kid you not, took me 20 seconds a day to film something. I said, let's do this one move a day, every day for 30 days. And it started to catch on, it started to gain traction. And that's kind of how I blew up. So from there, I realized, okay, this is cool because I can reach people not only in Massachusetts and in my spin sessions, but all around the world. So started doing fitness challenges, arm challenges, and then it's just grown and expanded over time. But once I started to get bigger as I'm going to say content creator and influencer are two very, very different things, which we can dive into at some point. But once I started creating more content back in COVID, it just skyrocketed from there.
That's incredible.
Very cool.
I actually did not even really put that together, that's how it all started, but it makes sense because the spin studio was closed, I assume, right? During
So
COVID.
many people. Yeah, too.
Yeah.
If you think about it, it's hard to go back to those times. And at this point, it's been almost 6 years, which is crazy. But people were stuck and they were craving connection and they wanted to feel like they were a part of something. So a lot of people downloaded social media that hadn't used it before or started using it and creating, which was, I've seen a lot of people. I almost was ahead of it, if you will. I pride myself on starting way earlier than a lot of other people, which means that I have had a lot of opportunities and I have years on people. So when people are starting now, I'm like, let me help you, let me guide you, because now everybody's trying to do it. When I was starting, it was a little bit less of everyone's trying to be a content creator. It was, oh, I'm here to consume versus create.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and then with the way that you've kind of started that creation, right? I think what's interesting, we were talking about this earlier, is you're a full-time content creator, but you are also full-time at Rev'd, right? So you have two full-time jobs. And that's something that we talk about all the time in real estate and in a lot of other industries, especially sales industries. You need to leverage social media. The biggest pushback people have is, well, I don't have the time. I don't want to be doing that. That's not my skill set. I'm good at this, right? But in this world, in order to connect, like you said, right? Like for us, it's connecting with our clients after they purchase a home is super important.
Yeah.
We don't want them to forget about us and we don't want to forget about them. We just got to experience an amazing milestone with them. We want to stay in touch. The easiest way to do that is to be on the platform where they are,
Yeah.
right? So tell us a little bit more about how you've now gone from like the organic, standard content creation of just kind of like trial and error and figuring it out to becoming a lot more strategic with your content and how you're leveraging it.
So I have to shout out my agent because she is the number one reason how I've gotten to where I am today, because I got to that point back during COVID, a little bit after when things started to explode. I started having people reach out about brand deals, and I was like, I don't know what to do. Where do I go? How do I make this actually a career? So I hired somebody who has now become a really close friend. And what's nice about having an agent is that she's helped me say, okay, this is who you are now. This is where you want to be. And almost treat myself like a brand, because I am a brand. I'm a personal brand, but I am a brand. So we think strategy, we talk through quarters, we talk through what's going on in life, and everything is constantly evolving, right? So 6 years ago when I started, I wasn't even yes, I was a mom because my daughter's now 6.5. But when I first started, I wasn't married yet. I was very different. My career was very different than it is now. So your life evolves and things change. So she's kind of helped me say, okay, strategy, Q1, what are we doing? What are your brand stories? What are we focusing on? What are the main things? And then we touch base every other week about what it's going to look like. So again, I could talk about this for hours and hours, but there's so much to dive into of strategy. How do you want to do it? What are you going to do? And to your point about people saying you don't have time, I could go two ways with that. Number one, I'm a firm believer that if you enjoy something, you'll find the time to do it. And if you don't enjoy it and you think it's something you need, hire somebody to do it for you, which I think is really important and is very often overlooked. I have a
Smart.
lot of people that are like, I want to grow my brand or I want to grow my company, not their personal brand. Similar to you guys, you have this podcast now, and maybe you don't have the hours in the day to learn how to create, what to do. So is there someone that can help you do it?
Right. I love that. It's like, I remember when I was growing up, someone used to tell me, find what you love to do and then find a way to make money doing it.
Yes.
And it's
Yes.
really, I'm
Yes.
thinking about you in your garage. You did
Yeah.
your first TikTok video, 20 seconds. Like, how did that, like, what was your thought process from when you did that in the garage to your next step of, all right, I'm going to really build this thing?
I enjoyed it. I really, really enjoyed it. And I said, okay, there's something here. And it's hard to think back because it's been so long, but I think the opportunities almost came to me. And that's how I realized I can make this a thing. There's a lot of different platforms and strategies for getting brand deals. I started to notice that a lot of companies were reaching out to me and noticing my following increasing and offering me money. So in that case, I was like, wait a minute, this is very interesting. Almost like part one of my content slash influencer career was all based on people I knew in person. I would have a lot of affiliate deals like, hey, here's this skincare product. You make $10 every time someone buys a $50 product. Then I started to have brands being like, hey, we'll pay you $150 to shoot a video for us. I was like, okay, there's something here. So then that's what kind of helped me to say, I need some help with this. I need an agent. I'm having brands send me contracts, and I don't know. I mean, you guys probably know much more about contracts than I do. At this point, I'm starting to learn, but saying, I'm starting to see the opportunity here. And if I can monetize it, even better. And to be honest, it's become almost more income than my other full-time job, so they actually complement each other really nicely versus, okay, I need to do this. That they go hand in hand.
That's awesome that you got an agent involved early on in the process. Obviously, we fully believe in that because obviously we're representing buyers, sellers, investors, etc.
Yep.
And we want to be their trusted advisor, their agent. And obviously, every field has that, agent or advisor or mentor or whatever it may be. How has that person in your life really changed and kind of upped your game?
The best part about Caitlin McDonough, shout out, she's amazing. Fifth Wellness. She sees me outside of myself and she challenges me all the time. And she knows me well enough to know she'll say this disclaimer: I'm going to challenge you here. This is how you're coming off. This is great. You're doing a fantastic job, but you have the potential to make it to the next level. So, this is what we have to do. She'll say, yes, she has her own connections, absolutely. And part of why I work with her is because she has great expertise in the fitness and wellness space. And now she's become global, which is amazing. But she's so helpful in saying, this is what our strategy is. And she holds me accountable to it because I just like to do my own thing. My strategy is I just want to be myself. And if people like me, great. If they don't, you're missing out.
Yeah,
Honestly, frankly, that's your problem.
I
So
agree.
she's really, really helpful in just saying, this is how an outsider sees you, which I think is the most valuable thing for someone that wants to get into content. Because you have, unless you are very self aware and you're in hours of therapy like I am, and you just work really hard on yourself, having an agent to say, hey, this is how that comes off. Hey, you're kind of going in this direction now. Hey, you're leaving out this part of you is so, so helpful.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I mean, basically, what you're saying though is it's a helpful tip for anyone who's an entrepreneur, right? Being an entrepreneur can be very siloed. You don't usually have accountability unless you're holding yourself accountable. You do not have an outsider's perspective. So, what you're saying is you're outsourcing to be able to get that piece so you can actually grow and you can flourish, right?
Exactly.
I also think what you said, which I love this, is especially with real estate or with other entrepreneurs that are saying, I don't love content creation. I don't want to be on these platforms. This isn't somewhere I want to spend my time. Your point is then hire someone because you can't avoid it. And that is something that we try to tell people. It's like, some people will say, well, I'm too old. Like, I don't want to be on it. And it's like, it doesn't matter your age. If you're not retiring right now, you need to get on these platforms. You need to build a brand because you need people to see you and think about you. So, that being said, how has this actually taken your other career to like maybe another level? Or how have these played together and kind of coincided and helped grow each other?
So going back to connection, right? People, to your point, they just want to feel connected, especially in both of our industries where people are trusting us almost with their deepest, darkest secrets, right? You guys are working with people on their finances and their homes, their dreams, their hopes, their desires. And I'm helping people transform their minds and their bodies and their lives. And being able to connect with people on that further level is everything. And I think social media humanizes us much more than you can get in a 45-minute spin session with me. People love to learn about other humans. This is one of my favorite things to share, is that one of the most profound things that anybody told me is that people are nosy. They're curious, they're nosy. They want to know what your house looks like. Think about people on social media, they're looking in the background like, "Ooh, where is she today? What is she doing?" I'm very strategic with every single thing that I put out because people like to learn about you. So, when I'm up on the podium, I'm coaching, I'm motivating, I try to share as much as personality as I can, but you just learn more. Like there's only so much you can get from the almost like business interactions that you get inside a space of your employment, but when you can go outside of that and share on social media, it's everything for people. So I've now developed lifelong friendships from people that I would have never been able to have because you just don't have that time, and I don't have the capacity to get coffee with everybody. I would love to do that, but my time is so booked almost every second of every day that it gives me a chance to share, connect, chat, and just tell more about who I am, because also I think people like to see themselves in you. And that's something that I found so powerful in social media, is that if you look at your following, you can see who gravitates towards you. Sometimes people are interested in my fitness background. Sometimes they're interested in how I got into running. Sometimes they're interested in how I am as a mom, and all those little pieces of me. I just like to, I'm not going to say it's oversharing because that's kind of the whole point of social media, but it's just further connection into letting people know who you are, because that changes your relationship.
Yeah. I mean, what you said it so well. And it's something that we try to talk about all the time in terms of growing businesses, right? Is work me is not who I am every single day outside. Like, that's not who I am as a mother. That's not who I am as a wife, right? So we all have like different, like, compartments essentially of our personalities. And a lot of people that you interact with in the work world, you would love to be friends with them outside, right? But there's only so much time in the day. There's only so many relationships people can have. I do think that, to your point, it's a really cool way for people to feel so much more connected, right? You and I, like, I feel like I know you because, I've been following you for a year and a half. And it's really cool that there is a level of understanding you a little bit more, like, I'm
Mhm.
not going to act like I know you on a deep level, but I definitely know your interests. I know your
Yeah.
likes. I know the things that you're working towards. I know some of your goals. And I think that that's really cool because it does create this familiarity with you. And it does actually make me feel like there is this deeper connection, right? And I think that people in business that are very hesitant to do this, you're not opening the doors for relationships to go a little bit further beyond just the transaction, essentially, right? So for you, it's that spin class. Like, you don't get to talk to people when you're yelling at them to go
Yeah.
faster,
Yeah.
and like you're telling them to push through. And for us, it's, sometimes we're having those hard conversations and people are super emotional during the process of buying and selling their homes, that we're not even getting the real personality of our client necessarily because they're in a stressful moment. So it's really interesting to say, well, if we have this relationship on social media, don't look at it as such a negative. A lot of people, there's so much bad feelings behind social media, right? That it's become, a bad place for people. But there's a lot of places where if you're authentic and you're genuine and you're actually showing your true self, then it is a way to stay connected and to stay in touch with one another. So I really loved hearing you say that. I think that that's very helpful. And hopefully, anybody in business who's had some bad um, feelings about getting on social media and sharing, you don't need to overshare. You just need to be, I think, smart about letting people in and feeling the connection, right? So,
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about kind of how do you plan what you're going to share, what you're not going to share, and like really like allowing some of the genuine side of you to come out, but also still preserving a piece for yourself too. So tell us how you
Yeah.
manage that.
And you have to, right? Because there's so many things too, and it depends who's in your life, what's their access to social media, what's their comfort level with social media. I'm thankful that I have a husband who, although he's not as into social media as I am, we were just joking before this about how I captured him sleeping during the Patriots game the other day, and he jokes, but he doesn't care. It's all part of the fun. So I work in
He's a good
buckets.
sport.
He's a great sport. Mike Pannozzi, the man.
Mike on a bike.
Mike on a bike,
Yep.
at the Mike on a bike. Go give him a follow. So I have buckets. I always think of social media like a big umbrella, and then you want to filter into certain buckets. And I always recommend people to have 2 to 3. So right now, see if I can think of what my buckets are: running, my family, and Rev'd/fitness. So anything that I post is within that realm. There's a lot of freedom there because it is my personal brand and I get to pick and choose what I share when I want to share it. But in general, I try to show enough of who I am. I'm low key kind of funny. People don't really know that about me. My sister always laughs because she's like, "You're actually funny." I'm like, "I know I'm funny, but it's like a different kind of funny. Like I'm not,
That's
I'm
such a
not." See,
sister
you guys
comment.
just laughed because I'm funny. It's like, it is a very sister comment, and she's part of the family bucket. So family is everything to me. So I have a 6-year-old daughter, like I shared, and I follow her lead when it comes to social because some days she's like, "I want to get in this video and do a review with you," and other days she's like, "Please don't take my picture right now." And I of course respect that because this is new territory for us as moms and as parents, and it's completely up to her and it's up to me and it's up to us. So I work in those buckets and then I have the freedom to just kind of play around. So my strategy right now in Q1 is staying within those buckets, but then going a step further, to my agent's point about if you want to take it to the next step, you need to continue to work series. So, like I said, people are nosy, they're interested, and they get very attached to storytelling, which is kind of the whole point of social media. So, if you're not telling a story, if you're not sharing something, what are people following along for? So, currently, like we talked about a little bit earlier, I'm running all of the world major marathons before I turn 40. People are invested in that story. They want to see it through, but there's going to be an end. I will hit that goal. So then I'm already thinking about, okay, what's next? We are currently building a new studio in Foxboro with Rev'd. I'm showing behind the scenes of the construction, the planning process, what it looks like. People are super invested in that story. And I'm learning to do different stories in different series. I just started two this week, one talking about what I'm obsessed with this week, and one talking about my honest, no filter takes. And so the more you do things over and over again, people are like, ooh, I wonder what Alyssa's going to review this week. And then you can hit different buckets too by saying different things. Like last week, I did my husband's chili, which is very different than a couple weeks ago. I did the pizza review that I have seen floating around. I wanted to try because it was in my town. So stories, storytelling, series, buckets, done.
Oh, I love this. So obviously I do the marketing and operations side of Wilson Group. And for us, I think what you're talking about, so from a content creation standpoint, your approach is the same exact way that our approach is with marketing,
Yeah.
right? So for us, we don't call them buckets necessarily. We call it our brand voice.
Mm-hmm.
We have 4 specific topics that are our brand voice. We didn't pick them out of thin air. We picked them based off of this is genuine. This is who our team is made up of in terms of human beings and agents and the people that work with us. And if it doesn't fit in those 4 buckets, why would we post it, right? Because
Exactly.
it's not genuine to who we are, and it gives people a sense of comfort. Also, it gives the identity, right? So
Mhm.
it's like I can see something, maybe it's not even you in the clip, and I know it's going to be your social media channel, right? Like I
Yes,
know that it's
yes.
like, okay, that's Alyssa on
Yep.
Instagram, right? And I've had people, this is the biggest compliment to us, say, I saw a post and before I even saw that it was Wilson Group, I knew it was Wilson Group. And I'm like, yes, we're
Nothing is
doing it
better.
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're doing it right.
Yep.
Because it's about genuine, authentic content, right? You have to know who is your brand, what is your brand voice, right? For us, it's like, yeah, of course, there is a piece of like our job that's super stressful. And we show that in some of those buckets, but it's also like you don't need to overshare in the sense of like bringing negativity or tough days to the table on social media
Yes.
because I do still think it's a place of like positivity and people want to see things that make you feel good and make you feel a certain way. But ultimately, I love hearing that like your content creation around your personal brand is the exact same strategy as a business's content creation, right? So
Yep.
let's say we were to ask you like what's one bit of advice you would give someone who's starting out, right? We were talking about launching this podcast and you were like, I could help you. What would be like the best tip or piece of advice that you could give us that would help separate us from marketing this?
To that exact point, what makes you different? There are thousands of podcasts. Everybody is starting a podcast
Yep.
this year. What makes you different? And what's really cool is I believe there's space for everybody. There's billions of people in the world. There's billions of consumers. What makes you two special? What do you want to put out there? What is your brand voice, to your exact point? And whatever it is, if you lean into it, there are people who will listen. I think people get very hung up. And I just had a conversation with one of our trainers the other night where she was saying, I really want to start, but I'm nervous. I have all these drafts and I just can't post them. I'm like, why? A little bit younger, a little bit different. Obviously, it's taken me all these years of being more confident and understanding that there are so many people out there that want to hear and want to listen. So get really specific on who you guys are, what you want to do, what you want to put out there, what you have to offer. Stick in those lanes and just keep hammering out different little bits and pieces of content. And then people will understand who you are. Because exactly, I'm a brand. So why wouldn't you market like a brand? Why wouldn't you have strategy like a brand? Because you're literally a brand. People
Mhm.
forget that. And you can tell. You can tell when people are just throwing stuff out on social media. I'm like, just take a second, think about what you're what you're doing, what you're putting out. Because if you're all over the place, then people are like, well, I don't know if this person is that person or that person, or if you're very specific and there's no magic formula. Even going back a step further, if you are just yourself, people will find you.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, being authentic, everyone says it, you've said it, like it's so, so important. But one other thing you just mentioned, which is super important, is not being all over the place.
Yeah.
You have consistency. And for you, your 3 buckets: running, family, and Rev'd in fitness. You know, you have those three buckets that you're going to consistently hammer out and make sure that you're kind of appealing to those. How long do those buckets last? Like, obviously, I have to imagine family will probably stay around for a while. That might be
Forever.
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 But you're going to complete your sixth marathon around the world, which is an unbelievable feat. So congratulations on that. That's ridiculous. I can't even fathom that. So huge feat. So what is, like, when you're thinking, okay, that's going to be done soon, what's my next bucket? What do you start to think about?
It's interesting because I don't have the answer to that yet because everything is happening so fast in my life at this moment. But like I said a little bit earlier, it's certainly a thought is what is next. So running, I think, is now an important ingrained part of me. So it probably won't be marathon running if I had to be transparent. I don't know how many more of these I can do. I have a couple marathons set for after Tokyo, which will be nice. And maybe running moves to the side and it just becomes family and fitness and Rev'd. Maybe that's enough. Maybe lifestyle just overall becomes one because my goal is to get to the point where I'm just so big of a public figure that I can do whatever I want and I don't need to think about strategy anymore, at least as much as I am now, to just grow to that next level. But family bucket will never go away. And family also changes a lot over time as my daughter gets older. As you both understand, you have kids, they change, their lives change, how they act changes, that it's changing my personal brand. Because when my daughter was a baby, she didn't really do much. She just kind of sat around. Now she can talk back. She does sports. I'm a mother in a elementary school. There's so much potential to just change as time goes on. So I don't really know, and I don't want to know because then I would have my life too planned out, and I don't want it that way.
It'll
I have
be
no
authentic when
idea.
the time comes.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And maybe that next bucket, obviously, Rev'd, you're talking about
Yeah.
the renovation in Foxborough Stadium, or at Foxborough, Patriot Place.
Yep.
And I know the Patriots, you're a big Patriots fan, which is
Sure
an
am.
exciting time of year.
Sure am.
How do they play it all into what you're doing?
It's so funny because the Patriots have become my entire personality now, and it's all strategy. I love them. I love the team. I did a class on the field for the wives in August, and so I got to meet a bunch of them, and I've stayed in touch. So I feel very connected to them. They're also a fascinating group with their own personal brands and how they market themselves. But being at Gillette Stadium and having this new energy around there, I would be doing myself a disservice if I didn't fully dive into supporting the Patriots, wearing Patriots gear everywhere I go. I have a storyline right now about how often I go to the pro shop. This week, again, tomorrow, I'm going to another event that someone said, hey, we have some Patriots gear. Do you want to come check it out? A Pats player is going to be there. I'm like, sure. So even that was a good example to say, what I'm doing now is working because brands are saying, okay, we see you're invested in the Patriots. We see you're at Gillette a lot. I do a lot of interview style content that you never know who's watching. So having Rev'd as part of this whole Gillette Stadium phenomena at this moment has been, number one, just a lot of fun as someone who grew up in Boston, and two, it's working.
Yeah.
It's making people want to come to Rev'd because they see that the Patriots are there and the stadium is there and the energy is so good around it.
That's very cool. Very cool.
It's crazy is what it is. It's really crazy.
It's more fun that we're winning.
But to your point earlier, their season will win. I mean, well, I was going to say is their season will end when they win the Super Bowl because I'm going to put that out there right now.
Love it.
But their season will end. They will fade to the side. So you know that their social media team is already probably 3/4 ahead as to, okay, when you're not in season, what are you doing? But that's something you have to think about. So I've already started to think ahead. What's nice is their season ending will kind of coincide with ramping up for our grand opening. And then once we're open, by the time we're up and running, my hope is a lot of the players will come by, check out the studio. There's just so many stories that you can continue to tell. And then before you know it, it's football season again. So continuing on the vibes.
That's really cool. And obviously with your previous career, MBA in sports management, you used to run Super Bowl parties and Hall of Fame inductions and all that stuff. How is that playing in with your experience to be able to now open up this new space?
Yeah, this is bringing you back. It's like a little
bringing me
throwback.
back. It's really crazy. And what I'm learning is I'm almost on the other side of things now, where when I was working in sports and entertainment, I looked up to all these celebrities. I understand this lifestyle of what it's like to be in the spotlight, how to operate around people of status, of note. And I've always kind of thought it's a very full circle moment for me to now be on the other side of it, if you will. So I learned how to plan events, I learned how to execute, and I also learned how to live in this world of fame and how to be in the spotlight from watching other people do it. So it's fun. And being in Gillette Stadium, where we're building this new beautiful 4 modality studio with indoor cycling, Pilates, sculpt, and strength, there's so much opportunity at Gillette, right? Because you have concerts come through. I'm paying attention to what artists are coming, and I'm already trying to find their people. I'm like, Bruno Mars, you want to come into Rev? Let's do it. Cardi B, you now are buying a house in East End. Come on by. There's a lot of potential in that area to have people of status come to our studio, because at the end of the day, people are just people. But it's very fun for me because it's a world that's very familiar. Whereas there's a lot of people who might be intimidated or afraid to have Gronk come into their studio, which he's been to Rev'd before. But I'm so used to, I mean, I've met him before in my other life and my other career. So it's all just very connected in a really fun, exciting way.
So something that you've kind of mentioned a little bit was when you were in your garage and it's COVID and you kind of were just out of boredom and out of the fact that you were craving connection with people, you put that video out there, right? Now you're talking about your confidence in you're very comfortable with trying to promote and get in front of celebrities and kind of like just take things to the next level. But for someone who doesn't have that level of confidence, someone who would over criticize that garage video 6 years ago or 7 years ago, right? How do you get through the constant feelings of like everything having to be perfectly aesthetic, everything having to be perfect before posting, right? Because I feel like that's one of the things about your content that's so awesome is I wouldn't know how much planning you put into it because it does look so genuine and it looks so authentic. And I've seen you do reviews on what is it, Cafe Fresh. I've seen you do reviews on the pizza places in Needham and things like that. It feels so real, like you just decided you were going to go on camera, right? And I love that about your content is that it doesn't feel artificial and fake. So tell me, like, from a content creator, full-time person, like in this industry, how would you give advice to someone who's being overly critical, who has that perfectionist thought process and just kind of can't get over the hump of actually posting the content?
It's so hard because that's the number one thing that I talk to people about is how do you get over being afraid? It takes time, work, dedication. I would be lying if I didn't say that therapy was a huge part of my content creator success, just learning more about myself, getting over a lot of the fear of what other people think. But I think, kind of depending upon what your focus is, how you just described me, I would start jumping up and down out of excitement because that's how I want to be seen. Yes, it takes editing and creation and thought, but the goal is that people don't realize that. Baby steps is really the only way to do it is you post something, you say, "Oh, this actually feels kind of good. I for once did something that was uncomfortable." It's almost like I preach in my spin sessions, the more you do hard things, the easier it becomes. I had just had this conversation with my sister yesterday about something completely unrelated to social media or anything, but we were saying she needed to have a tough conversation with someone. And I said, I promise you, rip the Band-Aid off, have the conversation. Next time it's going to get a little bit easier. Then you have that same conversation again, it gets a little bit easier. Every time you do something, it gets easier. And once you start to look at social media, you probably will notice that a lot of people who are successful aren't really that polished anymore because that's where social media is going, and it's all strategy, right? Like you see the people who just pop on and they've just gotten out of bed. That is probably a strategy if you're a big enough creator. Or then there's the days that you get dressed up and everything's perfect and you want to have the good aesthetic and things that make sense. So easier said than done for me to say, if you want it, you just got to make it, you got to get over it at some
Hmm.
point. But knowing that you can be yourself and releasing the expectation of others, it's really hard but you have to. And you just can fake it until you make it. I'm still in the, I'd say like 70% made it, 30% faking it in terms of confidence. And every day gets a little bit easier, but you learn not everybody's going to like you. And once you get over that, it's almost so freeing to recognize I can do whatever I want. And people are going to mute, they're going to unfollow, they're going to stop, they're not going to like you. And they're just not your people. And that's okay. So
Yeah.
just do it because you're missing out if you don't start.
You said earlier there's billions of people in the world. So
Billions.
ultimately you mentioned, you look at your followers, and your followers are people that are connecting with you for a reason. So
Exactly.
we say this all the time too about our clients. We want to attract clients that are going to be similar to us, right?
Mhm.
Because they know, like, and trust us. There's a reason why. It's because there's probably some really amazing similarities. And I think that ultimately in life, you want to attract people that have a similar moral compass, similar values, right? Similar things that you can actually appreciate about one another. So I think the same is for content creation too. So I think
100%.
that's good advice. It's take the baby steps. That's to me where I think anyone who knows they need to create content and has to just start somewhere, it's like rip the band-aid, post it, and get over it, right?
You have
How
to.
analytical do you get? Are you constantly looking at like how well your stuff performs, or do you just kind
No.
of post it and move
I
on?
You could spend hours diving into numbers and analytics. My agent and I keep it pretty simple and just what performs well. What do people seem to be gravitated towards? And the content creation industry is always shifting. So, right now in 2026, the trends that we're hearing are that people are looking at views versus likes, and engagement is important, yes. But if you think about it and you're a brand, and right now, I think in the month of January, I had almost 1 million people viewing my content. So I don't have 1 million followers, but that's 1 million impressions on all different things that I'm putting out. So numbers got very tricky for me when I first was starting. I would be like, I need likes. I felt bad about myself when people weren't engaging in my content. So I had to just personally release that. And now it's not that I don't care, but I do not get very analytical because the success is coming. I'm getting the brand deals, the big things are happening, that I know that that's how I'm measuring success versus numbers.
Okay. I think that right there is probably one of the best takeaways just in general in life,
You
right?
have
Like it's
to.
like you have to just trust, right, that the success is coming and that it's not always going to show up in the numbers. And that's something that we talk about all the time in our industry as well too. It's like we try to tell new agents coming on, or an agent who's going through a unique season of life. It's like if you're doing the foundational work, so for you it's like you're consistent, you're posting the content, you know that it's coming, you can see it happening, but it's not always going to show in the numbers, and it's not always going to make you feel like $1 million, right? But that's just life, right?
It
You have to
is.
trust the process, right? And
So
there's
hard.
there's ebbs and flows, and ultimately it's like you're moving forward though, because you're at least getting up every day and doing the work. And I think that that's one of the biggest takeaways of this whole conversation, right? It's whether you're scared to post content or not, ultimately you have to do it because it's a connection tool. It's a way for you to be able to be relevant and be a part of other people's worlds too. For us, it's also, we say, like, you don't have to be a content creator, but you do have to at least pay attention to what other people are doing too, because you
Yeah.
can use it as an engagement platform, a
Hmm.
social platform, right?
Yep.
The irony that it's called social media, right? Like it's like socialize on it, actually communicate with people. Like you can DM them, you can ask them about their trip that they just went on. Like you don't have to be a little voyeur, just like
No, you
creeping around.
don't.
Like you can
Yeah.
actually communicate with people through it. So I think that this was amazing in terms of just hearing about how you kind of stumbled into this essentially, right? Like you didn't set out 6.5 years ago saying, I think I'm going to be a content creator full time,
No,
right?
certainly not.
But you've learned the value of it, and you've seen that there's a lot of opportunity with that ability to connect with people in that level. So I think we learned so much, and I'm excited to have some of our team members listen to this and then continue to replay it and get more takeaways out of it.
I
So
love
thank
it.
you. Tell us how people can follow you.
So you can find me on Instagram and TikTok at the real APBP. I also have a Rev'd TikTok, which is where I'm having the most fun right now because, again, just kind of being myself and growing Rev'd, and that's at APBP Spins.
Awesome. Well,
What is the APBP?
That's my initials.
Well, I know Alyssa Pannozzi, but what's the B?
Alyssa Pollock Boyd Pannozzi. So I didn't want to
Got
get
it.
rid of my name and I just wanted to add my husband's to the end, but I was very attached to my name before. And I will be very honest, a little part of it was to start branding myself.
Love it.
APBP. I
Yeah.
love it. Okay.
It's awesome. Well, you truly embody what the title of this is building a brand that people believe in.
Thank
And
you.
based on everything you've told us, there's a lot of people are going to learn a lot from you. So
Thank
it's very
you.
impressive. So thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate it.
Thank
This
you
is
guys
Real
for
Estate for
having
Real
me.
Life podcast. I'm Ryan Wilson.
I'm Courtney Gauchman.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
Alyssa.
guys.